Hey friends, and welcome. Welcome to another reading vlog where I explore new authors. And today I'm so excited because the author that I'm reading today is Miss Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am ecstatic to delve into this author. I'm reading The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I've heard great things about not only this book, but just this author in general. I've heard that people have cried with her books, and I honestly have heard nothing bad about her, and I'm so excited to delve into her works. I am a little hesitant to go into books looking forward to them and with high expectations, because I would rather go into a book with just no expectations and then be pleasantly surprised rather than be super excited and then be let down. Because if a book is fine and you have no expectations, then it's a fine book. But if a book is fine and you have high expectations, then it's a bad book, if you get what I'm saying. So I'm a little nervous being excited about this book, but regardless, I'm delving into the TJR and am very much looking forward to it. All right, I was just reading some while I walked on the treadmill, which honestly I'm trying to get better at because I feel like it's just so much time that I have to read, but it is so difficult sometimes to get into a book while walking on the treadmill. But I'm getting distracted. I came on here for a reading update. I am currently maybe a fourth of the way through the book, and really Evelyn Hugo is just like expounding her life and how she grew up and how she gained her fame and how she became a Hollywood movie actress. And as boring as that may sound, I am actually finding it pretty interesting. I think partly it's just so different from my life experiences. Obviously, I'm not a Hollywood star. I live in a small town, and so this whole world is so foreign to me. And as you might expect, she kind of lives a little bit of a toxic life and just not a really wholesome childhood. And reading about that, while it is sad, it also is kind of interesting, and I feel like I almost feel like that kind of gross feeling, and so it is kind of connecting me to the character. And yeah, so it's interesting, but it really is just her talk about her life and her marriages, and it's just such a foreign world to me, which I am finding kind of interesting. Okay, I don't know if this is so weird, but I will read in between my sets because, like, I take like 2-minute breaks in between my squats. So I'll read like a paragraph in between each set. And honestly, sometimes it is so motivating. Like, you're in the midst of your squat, but you have a paragraph of your book to look forward to in your break. I don't know. It's a very inefficient way to read, I know, but it's also time that I could spend in my book. So that's what I'm doing right now. Please excuse the sound of the heater. It is December in Minnesota, so that's what you get. Anyway, I have been reading for a fair amount today. This book has short chapters, and we love a short chapter. Evelyn is continuing to tell her story, continuing to share with Monique how she rose to fame, and honestly, Evelyn is very much she's just willing to do whatever it takes, and she lives kind of a sad life, and she's willing to kind of, like I said, just do whatever it takes to become the person that she wants to be, to achieve her goals. And some of that means that she will just marry someone, and there's maybe not very much feeling behind that marriage. She just does it, and I think that's part of the reason why she's had so many husbands, is because she marries for gain, and she has had kind of a rough experience with men, and they've kind of all tried to use her in some way, and she's a very beautiful woman, so obviously that doesn't really bode well for her relationship with some men who are kind of just see her as a possession. And that's one thing she's really fighting, is that men just want to possess her, and that is really sad, and that's a terrible experience for somebody to have to go through. Well, then Evelyn finds out that one of her friends is gay, and so she then kind of starts to realize that she herself may be drawn to females as well, and that may have something to do with the fact that she's just had such a stinky experience with men that she's then drawn to females. I will say, I am not loving this book, which I don't love saying. I know that this book is a favorite of some people's, and it's just a very popular book, but it's okay. It's not my favorite, and I think for me personally, I do have very traditional beliefs about marriage and relationships, and as a Christian, I believe in the way that the Lord designed those things. So I think it's hard for me to connect with the story, and hard for me to connect with the conflict, which my favorite books are the ones where I can relate to our main character and relate to what they're going through. I love that, and I just don't really feel that connection here. And it's not like, oh my goodness, I hate this book, but it's definitely not my favorite. I do find it interesting though to read of an experience that's so different from mine, and a life that's very different than mine, and just different mindsets. I think that is kind of interesting to delve into, and to delve into what those people think and what they feel, because I think sometimes that is interesting to learn about things that you've never experienced for yourself. But I just do find it hard to connect when it's those sorts of things. I'm going to continue reading. I'm about halfway through, and yeah, that's my thoughts on this book so far. So I know I was just talking about how this book, like, I'm not really connecting with it, but to be honest, like, just reading it a little bit more since I last talked, I do feel really bad for Evelyn, and honestly, some of the other characters in this book, like, they are really living kind of a sad life, and Evelyn is not making great choices, and she's not really treating other people very well. She is manipulative, but she's also living she's living such a toxic life, and she's just living such a broken life, and honestly, seeing that is really sad. And so I feel like in a way I am kind of connecting more with her, just in that I feel for her. And as I've said, this is such a foreign world to me, and I'm so blessed to live the life that I do and to have grown up the way that I do. But it is sad just to see just the brokenness. Not that it excuses her bad choices and the way she mistreats people, but it is sad to see it, and it's sad to see her hurt. and to see her just kind of not have any grounding in life, if that makes sense what I'm trying to say. So I do feel bad for her, and honestly, I am kind of engaged, invested, and I want to find out more, but I also don't know if I want to find out more, so we'll see. Oh my goodness, their view on like family, like you just want them to have a happy, healthy family because they've had such tough relationships. This is sad. Like this quote says, "But I don't want to continue to have affairs my entire life. I want to be with someone I'm in love with, someone who's in love with me." My goodness. Oh boy. All right, it has been a hot minute since I last said anything, but I'm now almost done with this book. And so let me try to give a text version of where we're at in the story. So Evelyn has feelings for her co-star, her female co-star Celia. So they come up with this plan where Evelyn is going to marry her best friend Harry, and Celia is married to a football player named John. And Harry has feelings for John. Obviously, Evelyn and Celia have a thing going on. And so then they end up living close together, and they kind of secretly are in a relationship with, like, Evelyn is in a relationship with Celia, John is in a relationship with Harry. It's a whole confusing mess. Anyway, but so that's kind of how they develop it. And Evelyn and Harry decide that they want a family. They want children. And so they decide to have a kid. And Evelyn gives birth to this little girl. Finally, Evelyn is semi-happy. It is a messy situation, but she's happy with her family, with her life, with her girl. And then she ruins it. She lets her ambition get in the way and just her push for more, and it kind of disrupts this whole thing, and Celia ends up leaving, and now Evelyn has a broken family, and what she thought she had built kind of crumbles under her, and she then continues to look for love in different marriages, different relationships, and when she thinks she finds it, there's always something that is just in the way, and she can't find the love that she's looking for and is really struggling in that respect. And then she meets up with Celia again, and they just go out to dinner, and that progresses to where they end up kind of forgiving each other, and their relationship sparks again, and they come up with another plan to try to be together without people knowing. And through that, there's just another mess arises, and I think obviously it's hard for them to have an uncomplicated relationship. They decide that they're going to move away from the States and gonna live kind of a secluded life, just a simple life, and Harry's gonna come with Evelyn. Celia may marry somebody that Harry's interested in. And I forgot to mention, John died. Celia's husband died. So that's why he's not in the picture anymore. But anyway, so they're all going to go and leave the States and hopefully live a happy life. And then, spoiler alert, Harry ends up dying in a car accident, and that rocks the whole situation. But Evelyn and Celia get to a point where they do end up leaving the States. They take Evelyn's daughter, and Evelyn ends up marrying Celia's brother, and that's how their life is. Then Celia ends up passing away, and just really opens up a hole in Evelyn. Following that, a few years later, Evelyn's daughter gets breast cancer and she ends up passing away as well. Really, just a lot of loss, and what Evelyn has finally built for herself, it's gone, and she has to deal with that. And it says that she really is broken. Honestly, she can't really win as far as the love and relationship situation goes. It seems like every time she hits a wall, and so that's really hard for her. Now, this book took a complete turn, and we're back to the present. Evelyn's talking to Monique, telling her story, and she gives her a letter from Monique's dad, who died in a car accident. And Monique finds out that that car accident was the same car accident that Harry, Evelyn's ex-husband, died in. Crazy turn of events. I was shook. Monique is fighting that because she just doesn't know how to feel about Evelyn now. And that's kind of where we're at, where Evelyn has left off her life. And I don't have very much left, but that's where I'm at in the story. And I feel like I did a terrible job explaining that. That was literally me just rambling straight. Most people probably have already read this book because it had its moment like 4 years ago or whatever. So anyway, I'm very late to the trend, but yeah, so that's where I'm at, and I'm planning to finish this and see where we end up. My goodness, I was not expecting this to hit me like this. Wow. I finished this book a few hours ago, so let's chat about it. This book ends with Evelyn Hugo passing away, and Monique kind of moves on with her life and is trying to work through her feelings. She's having some complicated feelings, but she's okay. And that's where we're left off, and she ends up writing the biography. Yeah, so a pretty happy ending. I ended up giving the book 2 stars, which I know that some people will very much disagree with my thoughts on this book, but I didn't love it. Let's talk about the negatives first. First of all, as I said earlier, I was kind of finding it hard to connect with the book. I think it was just because of disagreeing views on the world and a lot of those things. So that did kind of affect just how much I connected with it. I did find it kind of adult at times. It wasn't too bad, but I think just because of that disconnect, it was harder for me to get into a book. On the positive side, I did find that kind of interesting, just seeing a differing view and seeing a world that was foreign. And even though I didn't feel that emotional connection, I did still find it interesting to hear an opposing side, to hear something that I just don't experience. That was kind of an interesting take. I did think that the writing was very good, and I did enjoy the story. I enjoyed the twists. It wasn't my favorite, but I want to check out more of her books because, like I said, she strikes me as a very good author, and I really liked the way that she portrayed her characters. So I do want to give her a go some other time, maybe pick up one of her other books. And I get the hype. I really do. This book wasn't my personal favorite, but I understand why people are so passionate about this book. And it actually really touched me in some ways I wasn't expecting. As you probably saw at the end there, it did make me tear up a little bit. It was a sad book. There was definitely a lot of heartbreak, but people in the end were okay. And I did appreciate some of the messages here. I didn't love the way they were told, but I do value some of those messages that she was talking about. So that is my thoughts on The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Like I said, I know that not everybody's going to agree with this review, but that's just that was just my experience with this book. Thank you all for tagging along with me on this reading journey, and I'm excited to pick up my next new author and see what I think. So far, I haven't had a great author, so hopefully the next one, or I should say I haven't had a great book, because I do think the authors maybe were good. I just picked the wrong book, but I still enjoyed them, but not my favorite. So hopefully the next one will be maybe a 5-star or even like a 4-star. Goodbye.